kindly stopped at the local supply store and purchased a tin of LePage's contact cement. Now this is not the press tight blue, which is the premium stuff, but this will do. This is also a heavy duty contact cement, and it comes with its own applicator, which helps to minimize the use of the foam brushes. Now we need, keep the pliers in there. So we have done our rehearsal. So I'm not going to use the glass container because I'm going to be able to hold the tin with one hand while I lift the applicator up. Yeah, so just let me go through this quickly in my mind. So we'll do the strip first. We'll do this next, and I'll just show you here that I'm not going to go quite up to the edge with the applicator. Rather, what I'll do is I'll use the foam brush to push the cement up to the corner. Okay, so here we go. Still have our wax paper, which is important. I'll try and make this as visible as possible. There's inevitably going to be slop here. Oh, I forgot to put my gloves on. That's alright, I'll do that next. Just put them back on momentarily. Now, here are the gloves. So, like most gloves, they go on easy the first time. And not so easy the second time. So, and this needs to be done well away from the cement. I have a bottle of baby powder, which I'm going to spread all over my hands. And presto changeo. Gloves go on as smooth as a baby's bottom. Yeah, this should do it. Now, one of the things you got to look out for when using products like this is that it's easy to get it on your hands, and then anything you touch becomes contaminated. Now, I don't want to work around this, so what I'm going to do, and again, always put the lid back on, even if it's only a moment when you're away from it. I'll just take a screwdriver and just push the workpiece out of the way. And there's actually some traces of it. I got to turn this away from the camera. Better idea what we're doing here. Now, one of the things when you're doing something like this is to never take your eyes off the actual work. What most people tend to do with their eyeballs is they look at what they're about to do next. So for example, if I'm going to put this brush back in the top of the container, I would avert my gaze and look at the top of the container, and therefore take my eyes off of the applicator brush. Now that's a recipe for disaster. Well, I'm following the brush with my eyes right into the can. And this is a little Maximum Sports. If you've ever played baseball, you were probably told, or tennis for that matter, never take your eye off the ball as it's coming towards your bat or your racket. Alright, so now I've got gooped up here, and we're going to take our brush just going to push the excess up to the corner. Oh, and we got some on the outside there. Turned out there was a little spillage. Not too serious. Okay, so this is for the camera. Now, it's not perfect, so we'll push it off a little bit here. What is it, Marcus? It's one of our other cats. I should have thought to have a little bit of solvent down here just to kind of help clean things up. This cleans up with bar salt quite readily. Of course, I made the classic mistake of not reading the directions before I got going with it. That was the French. Okay, so it's got to sit for 15 minutes just like the other stuff did. And I'm just checking the coverage. Coverage looks pretty good. Alright. So I'll set the timer for about another 10 minutes and turn the camera off, and I'll be right back. The sun has gone over the yard arm. Here at Juniper U's in Ontario. Now the way to tell if this stuff is ready is to make sure that it's kind of lost its sheen. You know, that glassy appearance that liquids have. Going to double check. Alrighty then. And these little foam applicators are dispensable. They're not worth trying to save. We're going to put some fresh paper down though. Okay. Reflector is in. That's it. You don't get a second chance. As you can see, I'm working from, maybe you can't see, but I'm telling you, I'm working from the center out. I'll put our little piece of wax paper down here. And blocks of wood. Here's how we'll do this. Start with the larger clamp, just so you can see the operation as much as possible. The problem here is that I'm left-handed. Just make for Oh. Getting heavy. Smaller clamps on. I realize it's awkward to see this. This is what it's looking like. Straighten these down. And there we go. Now, just set this down here. Now what I will do is I'm going to leave this for an hour, and then every hour for about the next 5 I'm going to come in here and move these clamps one clamp width one way or the other, so that each area of surface underneath the on the bottom of each wood block is clamped in order to achieve maximum surface-to-surface contact between the bottom of the reflector and the inside bottom surface of the lens. Basically to maximize pressure all across that surface area, so that as much of the cement is pressured, and therefore it will tend to flatten, of course, the reflector, the reflecting surface, which will make it a better reflector rather than having a few little wobbles in it. Okay, so that is it for the moment. So next time you see me, we'll be just moving the clamps around, and we'll have this clamped up overnight. It's 5:30 in the afternoon here in in late September. So we're going to get to work in the morning, and we'll do the final reassembly then. Get the lens reinstalled in the main reflector. Okay. Okay, so this is an entirely gratuitous quick look at the arrangement here to make sure that there's nothing gone wrong. Just checking down here to make sure that we haven't had glue come out. We haven't. That's it. I'm going up to watch a football game, and I'll be back in about half an hour. So I'm going to take this clamp off and that clamp off, and check the time reading on this tape. 15 minutes. Okay. All right. So the block dropped to the bottom, which is to say, it dropped to the front face of the lens, and so I've moved the clamp in slightly from the end of the wood block left clamp, that is to say, and the right clamp I've moved equally a little in, and we'll just tighten that down. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing on the other side here. But this time, we're going to let this block not only drop to the bottom, but we're going to move it toward the center. Now, I just realized that the, well, all right, let me explain this to you. This is something called jaw depth. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see that the distance between the arm of the clamp with the orange spacer and the black clamp is greater. Now, why this is important is because the all black clamp does not fit all the way down to the front surface of the lens. So I'm going to swap the two clamps because I want this block here that is to say the block closest to the camera, which is this one here. I'm referring to this block. I want that block to also be close to the front of the lens. So I let the block drop down under gravity, just as I did with this one here. But the black clamp had an insufficient jaw to reach to the front of the lens where I'm pointing here. It's not easy to see. There we are. Okay. All right. Hope that's clear. All right, so now the jaws on the orange clamp are right down by the front surface of the lens. And you might ask, well, what's that going to do with the block to its left, which is away from the camera. Okay, so this is toward the camera, and that is away from the camera. And so this black clamp here has its arm flush against the back edge of the lens. And so we don't get quite the bearing. there's a black clamp that we moved over to the front side there. Right? So this doesn't come quite toward the front surface of the lens, but pretty close. But this is a larger wood block, so there is less torsion, and it's shorter as well. When I say it's larger, I mean it's thicker through here, and it's shorter from here, where my finger is pointing, out to here. So you can get away with just pressure on the forefront of the wood block, and there's about there's only about a 3/8 or half an inch distance where just down in here, it's hard to see where my finger is, where you're not getting direct pressure on the wood block and of course down onto the reflector. But on the smaller wood block here, I wanted pressure all the way down to the front surface of the lens, and that's what we've got. Now I've only got about 8 minutes left on this tape, so I'm going to shut her down here, and I think that we're going to leave it here for another hour or so. We're at the halfway point in the Toronto-Ottawa football game, Canadian Football League. Oh, here's my little girl. How you feel, yeah? You helping Daddy repair the headlight? And so I'll shut the camera off now, and we'll be back in, as I say, about an hour or an hour and a half. So here we are finally. So I'm moving this one of the larger clamps. And one of the smaller clamps And here what I've done is I've angled this wood block from the center up at the edge of the lens to the outside and to the back or front surface of the lens. The idea is to provide complete coverage of clamping pressure with the block on the other side, which you'll recall we had moved right to the front surface. We'll take these clamps off. I'm just testing the reflector here, and I can see that the reflector is a little bit loose here at the edge. So what we'll do, snagging the wax paper. Ooh. Not quite enough. Alright, so what I've done is I've moved the block of wood out to the edge of the lens, and I've moved the two clamps toward the center, because along this edge here of the reflector plate that we've been clamping, I noticed there was a little bit of non-bonding, so we'll use this area here from the 3/4 mark of the wood block down to the center, and leave it like that for the rest of the night. So in the morning, we'll take the clamps off and examine the condition of the seal with the contact cement, and determine whether we have a satisfactory situation with respect to that. And then if we do, we'll proceed on to the next step, which is to mount the lens as I said, to mount the lens in the main reflector, and then install that in the backing plate, and ultimately reinstall the entire headlight assembly in the vehicle. All right, so that's it for now.